Welcome to the Newsmakers Podcast. I'm Billy Hollowell, and this is a show where we go behind the headlines every day to bring you an interview with a pastor, entertainer, politician, or other notable news figure. And this is a show, again, it's daily, but it's based on our weekly TV show, which is also called Newsmakers. You can watch it on the CBN News channel and also on our YouTube page. And on this show, every day, we dive deep. It's a little more longer form with one of the people who you will often see on our Newsmakers show or across the CBN News platforms. On today's Newsmakers, we're sitting down with two people involved in a very complex case out of Nicaragua. We're talking with Britt Hancock. He is the founder of Mountain Gateway Order Incorporated, and he's joining us to talk about a harrowing journey he is on right now, fighting back after he says he, his family, and 11 other Christian leaders have been facing serious charges from Nicaraguan officials who accuse them of money laundering and organized crime. Britt will take us through why he says he's innocent and why he believes most of this is rooted in persecution. We'll also be joined with his attorney from ADF International. Her name is Christina Hijelkram, and she'll be with us as well. With no further ado, let's welcome Christina and also Britt to the show. Well, Britt, I want to start with you today. 11 pastors and ministry leaders have been convicted of money laundering in Nicaragua. This is a very confusing case to people who are sort of coming into it, trying to understand what is going on. Can you give us the backstory of what is unfolded here?
Sure. Thank you so much for your question. In 2023, Mountain Gateway helped to organize a series of mass evangelism campaigns, 8 of them, throughout the year. We began in February and had the last one in November. We had 1 million people total come to those 8 meetings. The last one we had almost 250,000 people cram into the national meeting space. It's called the Plaza de Fe in Managua, in the capital city. A month after that meeting, we had thousands of volunteers working, a massive infrastructure. A month after that meeting, we had the government began to imprison or arrest all of our principal workers. So our main national leader, his wife, the coordinators for all of those meetings, and our main pastors, they arrested them all by mid-December.
Wow. And, Christina, talk a little bit for us about what they're facing, what these charges are, because of course you hear money laundering and you think, what in the world is going on here? Help us understand from your perspective what these charges are and what actually has happened.
Of course. The religious leaders are being accused of aggravated money laundering, but the government has no proof whatsoever to that extent. Mountain Gateway has tried several times to prove their innocence and to provide evidence to this point to the court, but the government has either seized or prohibited this evidence to reach the court file.
So, Christina, how long are these prison sentences? How large are the fines?
The prison sentences are from between 12 years to 15 years for each one of the religious leaders, and the fines are up to $80 million per person, which is a very high fine for the Nicaraguan judicial system and not common at all. So
Britt, you mentioned these massive evangelistic campaigns that preceded these legal charges. Are you of the opinion that is why these charges were brought, that this is actually a persecution issue and not actually any sort of legitimate legal issue?
Yeah, without a doubt. Like, we've been working in Nicaragua since 2013. And we've been fine without any problems with the government because we worked in small villages. We've been pioneer church planting missionaries for years in Mexico and Nicaragua, and never gotten sideways with the government. We've done humanitarian work, response after natural disasters and things of that nature. Not until we did these massive events has there been any problem. And so it grew to such a scale, like it was a surprise to all of us. The Lord was doing a miracle. He shook the entire nation. We had multitudes of people respond to the call to meet Jesus. And it really seized the social media cycle, the news cycle, in multiple countries in Latin America. And we for the year, we became really the dominant social influence in Nicaragua. And they're not okay with that. If anything takes the sort of the emphasis off of them and their narrative, they have a long history of responding very harshly against things like that. And so there's no doubt in my mind that that's the reason.
Well, and that brings us, Britt, to the question of what is the state, because I think most people probably in America don't know a lot about Nicaragua. What is the state of faith in Nicaragua, and then also the state of religious liberty there?
The Nicaraguan people are beautiful people. The gospel is in some ways thriving. That doesn't mean that the environment is positive, but the faith environment is really great. We just had a massive response. There's so much hunger and desperation for God there. It's really an amazing thing. However, when we were working with all these churches, we had 6,000 evangelical churches unified to work on this project with us all year. And we had multiple planning meetings. And I personally met with hundreds and hundreds of evangelical pastors, and every single one of them, if you have a conversation with them about the government, they kind of lower their voice, and the reality of surveillance, of people being infiltrated in their congregations, watching and listening for them to sort of say the wrong thing. Have to be careful about what they pray, about what they preach. Like there's the culture there, the environment is not one that's free. They know that if they say the wrong thing, pray the wrong thing, make a stand about the wrong thing, which is in any way being critical of the Sandinista government, then they know that they'll disappear, they'll be imprisoned, or their families will be threatened, or things like that. And those are common stories. And so everybody knows it's just it's a common culture. There is no freedom of expression, no freedom of speech. And if they say anything contrary to the government, they'll just kind of lower their voices. And, that's the general thought, the general way that people respond.
Christina, as we're sort of listening to this situation there, I'm curious about the situation right now for the pastors and the ministry leaders. We talked about the fines. We talked about the prison time. Where do they currently stand right now? Where are they? What do they face?
They are facing a very dire situation. All of the religious leaders are in maximum security prisons. They do not have contact with their family nor with their attorneys, and they are being denied medical assistance. We are very worried for the state of their health and their life, physical integrity, mental integrity. Human rights violations are happening to them in every sense of the word, from their inability to be able to worship freely to their inability to be able to get help for themselves.
Britt, I want to come back to you on something, because you mentioned, you've been working there since 2013. Obviously, you were able to get out and leave the country, but you also are in the middle of this as well, in terms of the heat that is being put on you by the Nicaraguan government. How has this affected you, not only personally, and talk about the legal implications maybe of what the government's pushing, but also from a ministerial sense, right? Your ability to actually minister in the way that you have.
Oh boy, it's definitely impactful. We discovered that the Nicaraguan government weaponized the use of Interpol. It's called red diffusion communications, to request that myself, my son, and his wife, my daughter-in-law, be arrested if we try to enter multiple countries in Latin America. And extradite us to Nicaragua to stand trial for these bogus charges. And Mexico is one of those countries, and we have a lot of ministry happening in Mexico. We've been there since 1997. We have 2 children's homes. We're in over 100 villages and in indigenous church planting work. We have a lot going on in Mexico. We can't go there right now because we know for sure that there's an arrest order out for us to extradite us to Nicaragua, and there are 5 other countries that our information has told us that participated in this. So really, we can't leave the United States. So it's a big change personally for myself and my son and his family.
Britt, are you getting support? I mean, what level of support are you getting from American leaders, from U.S. leaders in Congress, and really across the broad, political spectrum?
We're in Washington, D.C. right now, meeting with multiple members of Congress, their staffs, with people in the State Department and the Department of Justice. And what we're finding is a high degree of responsiveness. We have a coalition that consists of over 70 congressional members in both the House and the Senate. There's a resolution in the House and in the Senate condemning Nicaraguans' actions that are out right now, getting co-sponsors. We've had the letter sent to President Biden asking for increased targeting sanctions against individuals in the Nicaraguan government. That's happened. There's a letter's gone to the Secretary of State. A letter's gone to the Nicaraguan ambassador asking for questions. Representatives and senators are raising awareness. So we're here working. We need more to happen, but we're very blessed at our government's response.
Well, Christina, final question to you. What actions are being taken to push back and to defend the 11 who have been arrested in this case and Britt and the others?
Yes, ADF International is going to pursue any international avenue available for the imprisoned religious leaders and for Britt and his family. We have recently submitted a petition for precautionary measures before the Inter-American Commission of Human Rights, requesting this commission to please request the releasing of the prisoners as soon as possible.
Well, I thank you both for breaking this story down. We're going to continue to cover it as it unfolds. I know there's a lot of moving parts here, and so I appreciate you taking the time today.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
That's all for today's Newsmakers podcast. Be sure to tune in for the next episode of the show, and also head over to the CBN News YouTube channel and the CBN News channel to watch Newsmakers every week. We'll see you soon.